Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got not really a review. I've already reviewed this knife. More of an overview and presentation and just sort of a discussion, you know, a little bit of show and tell to share with you guys. This is the Custom Knife Factory and Marfione Sokosha, but this is the special one, or one of the special variations that they did with the beautiful dark blue zircotai inlays and the mirror polished DLC M398 DLC blade. This was one of my absolute favorite purchases of 2024. And there's a lot of joy with this knife. There's also a lot of frustration with it for a number of different reasons, and I want to kind of talk about that today because I feel like a lot of you probably experience a lot of the same frustrations as I do when it comes to CKF stuff. Thanks so much to my patrons for supporting me. I did not get this discounted. I did not get special treatment with this knife. I, like many of you, pre-ordered the standard version of the Sokosha, which I love and is ridiculously overpriced. And then after I got it, NC Blade was like, oh, also we have super special versions that you couldn't pre-order, but now they're suddenly available. Don't you want these too? And so people like me were like, yes. So I guess I'll just buy both, you know, which not everybody has that option, but I was like, well, that's the version that I want. I want the shiny DLC one. Like there's the ones that are really cool. And number one, I wish it's like, listen, if you guys are going to do that, just make them, like, let it be known at the beginning of the pre-order, like, hey, we're also going to have these if you want to pre-order them, right? Maybe there's a reason that they drop. Maybe it's because they're limited and they want to give everybody a shot. But it also feels like, you know, yeah, we want to tempt you into getting two. I don't know exactly if that was their intention, but that's kind of what it feels like. But this is spectacular. And while I still think this, you know, super shiny version is overpriced, it felt like a lot better deal than this one. It made me want to get rid of this knife, which is still horrific. I want to say that this was still like $680 and it feels like more like a $400 knife, you know, something like that. This guy was $850 and feels more like something should be around the $600 to $650 territory. And I'll talk about kind of why I think that. But the point stands, you know, I acquired a lot of stuff, a lot of bladed stuff in 2024. And this is one of my favorite things. Price aside, the aesthetic of this knife is so absolutely beautiful. 2024 was the year where we saw the rise of DLC. You know, DLC is if you're not familiar with DLC, it's definitely one of the most premium and most, you know, functionally, it's one of the best coatings you can get on a knife. You're adding corrosion resistance, extreme scratch resistance. It can be polished, right? So depending on, you know, how they finish it, it can be nothing but a benefit to whatever composition that it's on. But we saw the rise of the, I'm not wearing a glove with this, so you're going to like see fingerprints and things like that. There's actually no blemishes on this at all. It's absolutely perfect. But, you know, me touching and spitting on it is going to make it look less than perfect during the video. But yeah, we saw the rise of the DLC, and some companies were doing it okay, and other companies were doing it way better and making it really, really cool. And given that it's a newer thing, you know, I have no doubt that in the future we're going to see mirror polishing, like high polishing, mirror polish DLC, and all different sorts of coatings and things. That's going to be way more commonplace, and it's not going to be something that's exclusive to a much higher price point. You know, eventually. For right now, we don't see a lot of mirror polish DLC. And so for people like me, I'm like, well, yeah, you know, I'll pay a lot more money for that, you know. And I don't know if they are hand polishing each one of these. It would not surprise me just because of how perfect this is. But actually, on that note, we should talk, because this is a CKF knife, and every time we talk about CKF, people, you know, say they bring up the whole made in Russia thing. Custom Knife Factory has not operated in Russia for years. They moved to Slovakia They are open about, once I asked them, they're open about the fact that the parts of their knives are actually manufactured in China, and then those parts are sent back over to Custom Knife Factory in Slovakia, and I think they said occasionally Russia, but they're not, the business is not operated or registered in Russia. It's registered in Slovakia. So that's where the majority of that is, right? But they have some assembly done in Russia. Most of it is done in Slovakia. And then a lot of the finishing and polishing, right? All of these little intricate details that make CKF knives stand out from a lot of other production knives in the same caliber. A lot of that's done in Slovakia. And that's part of the reason why you're not going to see a CKF knife priced the same as like a Wii knife. You know, I think a lot of people would say, oh, a Wii knife is made the same way. It's made in China. So why does a CKF knife cost so much more? My official stance on that is I still think CKF knives are I think they're overcharging, but I don't think that it's like, do I think that this should come in at like $350? No, I don't think they can do that. I don't think it's possible. I don't think people understand exactly how expensive it is to mirror polish a DLC on a blade, right? Some of their simpler stuff, yeah, absolutely. Like this in no way should have cost what it did, but that's the thing though, isn't it? They keep selling them. People like me buy them, you know. A lot of people point the finger at me and they'll say, well, you promote it, you buy it and you show it, right? Yeah, you could look at it that way, or you could also, you know, realize that as somebody who does nothing but create content for a living, I feel that it's important to showcase it. Number one, you know, still do what I do, which is collect knives. What I choose for my own personal collection, my reasoning behind buying it is still a personal decision, right? And I like to do that because I am at heart a knife enthusiast and collector. But, you know, I like to give credit to human beings and think that they are more than just mindless sheep who will buy things based on how shiny they look on a TV screen. And actually, I feel like people are more willing to actually listen to the words coming out of my mouth. So while on one hand, yes, I'm showing this thing that I bought and that I say that I like, you know, and I appreciate it as part of my own personal knife collection. I also know that the vast majority of people who are watching are smart enough to listen to the part of the message here, you know, which is these knives are overpriced, and they are cool. And they're fun to look at, and they feel great, you know, and they tickle all the fancies of the knife enthusiast. I think most people are smart enough to understand that they're charging too much money for these things, and they can make those decisions for themselves. So I don't know. I just feel like it's more complicated than just the fact that I'm showing it is promoting it, and then that's the end of that, and that human beings are not smart enough to think beyond that. I mean, that's the implication. People who say stuff like that is the implication there, is that you're giving no credit to people who watch this type of content. They can make those decisions for themselves, right? But this is something that I bought despite knowing that I was paying too much money for it. And that's something that not just knife people do, but like people in general, you know, with anything. If you, and this is, it's an inevitability, right? If you're like, I've said this a bajillion times. If you're jumping into the knife fold for the first time and you're just now realizing that there are, you know, knives out there that cost more than $100. And here's a great example of me having already put little marks all over this from coughing. But yeah, if you're just discovering that, you know, we all say like, I would never pay that much for that. No way, you know. And you've got your hard limit, or so you tell yourself. Yeah, you won't until you will. Eventually, you'll find something that costs more than whatever your limit is, but you'll want it just enough. You'll be able to go down your own personal checklist and you'll say, you know, it's got to have this, 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 and it's got to be less than this amount. If it has all of the stuff that you want and is exactly the right shape and exactly the right color and exactly the right sparkly and exactly the right everything, it's just more than you want to spend. The closer it is to your line, the more likely you are to break. And break you shall. You will. It's the story of us all. And then all of a sudden, it becomes your new line. You tell yourself that your fortifications are strong, but they're only as strong as the next shiny thing that's just slightly over the line, right? You just keep moving the line. This is what we all do. So I looked at this and I looked at the price and I thought, gosh darn it, this came out after I already pre-ordered the basic one, but this is so freaking cool. I want it, and something happened. I wasn't fast enough the first time this dropped, and I was like, well, crap, I missed it, And then somehow, just as luck would have it, they had a few more. And I was like, okay, well, now I'm buying. I have to. Because I saw a video of it, and I was like, this is absolutely gorgeous. This is some of the best-looking M398. Well, it's some of the best-looking polished DLC I've ever seen, right? It's annoying that they didn't put the inlays on the other side. Like this, it's so weird. Like, just do it on both sides. It's so annoying, right? But everything else was so cool. I couldn't say no, And now I've spent the money and looking at it, the only time I'm reminded is going back to the website and going, oh my God, I paid $850 for that thing. But now I have it and I just enjoy it. It's beautifully well made. I don't know who, I've said this many times, I don't know who CKF's OEM is. Maybe they've said it, not to me. The fact that Microtech, collaborated with Reich to do the SOCOM Bravo, I mean, this is pretty similar to the feeling. Maybe I'm wrong. There's a lot of Chinese companies who would be capable of doing this, but would it surprise me if it's Reich? No, not at all. Maybe it is, right? So, but CKF continues to, collaborate with big names. They're able to finish things in a way that stands out from other things, that would otherwise be in their little, their competition zone. And so they do things in limited enough runs, and then they do even more special versions, even more limited, right? And they figured out that little box that's going to grab at people like me. And the truth is, again, as much as some people would say, like, you're showing it, so you're promoting it. Okay, I'm not going to try and change your mind there. You can think whatever you want. They will continue to get me, right? But I'm talking about this and creating a video so that you can make these informed decisions for yourself, right? Realizing that this is it's been this way and it's going to continue to be this way. CKF will collaborate with another big name. They'll make some, wild and crazy looking, something that looks a lot more flashy, a lot more, a lot different than what we see at this end of the production knife world. And they'll do some crazy inlays and finishes, and they'll do the pre-order, and then they'll surprise us with a bunch of super special versions, and then it'll all be too much money, right? And if you're big into this stuff, then maybe it'll be enough to get you to drop the money, like me. I'm weak. Maybe you're strong. I don't know. But you can decide that for yourself now, knowing that this is what's going to happen. These typically drop at NC Blade. That's where I've been getting them, the CKF stuff. I think there's one other, there might be a few other websites that do the custom knife factory stuff. But that's where I get this stuff. And I love this. I have no intention of reselling any of this, so I don't really care what the resale value is or secondary market value is. A lot of times CKF stuff does truthfully go up in value. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's worth a lot less. It depends on how much people want stuff that you can no longer get anymore. What it should cost after it's long gone goes completely out the window. It's just secondary market, demand at that point, right? But I wish, that we did live in a perfect world where you could get, that CKF just kept making all of everybody's favorite stuff with all the coolest finishes and the inlays, and they, priced it out correctly. But it's not the world that we live in. It would be great, because then, you know, the people who wanted stuff like this could get it and wouldn't have to overpay for it. But currently we do. So it's like, that's, to ask if it's worth it is such a loaded question, you know. It comes down to the individual. And you know, a lot of people might be watching this going, did you know what direction you were going with this video before you started? No. And the truth is that's, if you've been watching my channel since the beginning, sometimes I do videos like this where I don't, you know, I just kind of want to talk and give you guys truly my internal feelings about something, that I really, really love, and do my best to explain why, you know, and that's kind of what I'm doing here. So yeah, you might not get much from this, and that's perfectly okay. But this knife puts a smile on my face, and sometimes that's what it comes down to. Is it gave me a little bit of a frown to buy it, but now to have it and periodically get it out, you know, take a look at it and just enjoy it. Some people have to use it to get that type of enjoyment. I don't. Sometimes I use, some I don't. This is a knife that puts a smile on my face as an enthusiast and collector. And while it pains me to have spent that $850 on the knife, here's a better way to ask the question. If I had the opportunity to get my $850 back right now and give this knife up, knowing that I wouldn't be able to turn around and buy it for that again, would I do it? And the answer is no. They can keep my money. I think they charged me too much, but they can keep it. I want the knife, you know? And sometimes that's how that is. It's hard to get around that feeling if you want something bad enough, you know, that you're gonna accept what it costs if you're able to afford it in that moment, you know? So I'm not saying that you should always in every scenario give in to the desire to overspend. You just have to sort of pick those battles correctly. You know, you don't want to buy every single one because it ends up being obviously a terrible financial plan. But if you have saved and you've got an opportunity to pick up something that you really, really want, you're like, yeah, it's going to cost me too much money, but I'm finally going to get that thing that I want. And then after a long period of time, you can still get that thing out and say, yeah, I still love this. It still makes me smile, you know, then it was money well spent. Even if they got more from you than they probably should, you know. So I wish that they would change things. I wish that they would be a lot more transparent on the NC Blade website, and I wish CKF, you know, would find a way to make it like extremely common knowledge, like exactly what's happening where. That'd be really cool. I wish we could find out exactly who the Chinese OEM is, like officially. That'd be cool. And I wish their prices weren't so crazy, and I wish that they would make more and stop doing everything in limited runs, but that's not how it is. So anyways, the whole idea with this video is just to discuss, just to talk about it, show this off a little bit, just so I've got a video out there on it. And for anybody who really just wants, you know, a good long look at this version of the CKF Sokosha, you know, because it's really cool. But that's going to be pretty much it today. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed, even if there wasn't much here. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.